Beneath the skin, in the quiet chambers of our physiology, there's a sacred dialogue unfolding, one that doesn't need words, only sensation. When heat wraps the body, muscles soften, expand, remember their fluid nature. When cold arrives, they contract, hold, and wait in reverent stillness. This isn't resistance, it's music, a shifting harmony between tension and release, contraction and surrender. What we often label as discomfort is, in truth, the body's prayer-its way of aligning with the elemental forces that shaped us long before language, long before thought. Temperature becomes more than stimulus, it becomes teacher. And your muscles, they are instrument, tuned by pressure, played by experience, and refined by change. To study how they respond is not just to understand performance, but to witness life echoing through form. Because in every tremor, every stretch, every still moment in the cold or the warmth, the body isn't just surviving, it's participating in something vast, ancient, and infinitely intelligent. When we talk about temperature, heat, and cold, it's easy to think of it as something passive, something we either tolerate or escape. But the truth is far more beautiful, far more intimate. Temperature isn't just something happening to you. It's something you're in constant conversation with. The body, and more specifically your muscles, aren't passive players in this exchange. They are deeply engaged listeners, responders, translators of a language older than speech, one written in pressure, sensation, and time. Think of heat and cold not as conditions, but as signals. They don't just touch the skin, they shape the physiology. They trigger cascades that ripple from your surface to your core. And your body doesn't just react out of survival, it reacts out of wisdom. Because at its foundation, temperature is information. It tells the body what's needed. It sets the tone, and the body, especially the muscular system, knows how to listen. In cold, that conversation begins almost instantly. Thermoreceptors in the skin detect a drop in temperature, and the message travels inward, through the spinal cord, to the brainstem, to the hypothalamus. The body begins to conserve. Blood is redirected from the periphery to the core. Muscles contract slightly to preserve heat. Shivering may begin, a coordinated, rhythmic series of microcontractions designed not to fight the cold, but to generate internal warmth. It's not a reflex of desperation. It's one of resilience. What's remarkable is that this response is anticipatory as much as it is reactive. Your body doesn't wait until tissue temperature is dangerously low. It begins adjusting at the hint of cold. That's the nervous system's precision, its ability to preempt threat, to calibrate performance, to maintain balance. Cold, then, becomes a teacher of boundaries. Of economy, it says, let's focus only on what matters. The muscular system responds by tightening, moving less but moving intentionally. Energy is preserved, sensation is heightened, and you, often without realizing it, become more present in your own body. Heat, on the other hand, speaks a different dialect of this same language. It says you are safe to expand. The skin warms, vasodilation occurs. Blood moves outward toward the limbs. Muscles loosen. The nervous system shifts toward parasympathetic activity. More calm, more openness, more restoration. And again, this isn't just about comfort. It's about permission. Warmth tells the body, move more, feel more, express more. And the body listens. What's fascinating is that the same muscles that resist movement in the cold begin to express fluidity in heat. They become more elastic, more responsive. Neuromuscular signaling speeds up. You don't just move with more ease, you move with more trust. There's a softening of tension, not just in tissue, but in how the body perceives effort and risk. Heat creates space, literal space in the connective tissues, and psychological space in your perception of effort. But here's the deeper truth. Neither state, cold nor heat, is superior. They're complementary. They are opposite ends of a spectrum, and the body needs both. It learns from both. Cold teaches control. Heat teaches release. One constrains so that the system can focus. The other liberates so the system can express. And in both cases, your muscles are not just reacting. They're evolving. This is why we can't view temperature merely as environmental. It's relational. Your body doesn't separate itself from the climate. It adjusts, it communicates, it harmonizes. There is no separation between internal and external. The muscles, the skin, the nervous system. They are all participating in a dialogue with the world around you. And through that dialogue, you are not just surviving. You are tuning yourself. And this tuning isn't just about athletic performance or recovery. It's about awareness. Because every time you step into heat or cold, your body is making decisions. Hundreds, thousands per second. What muscles to activate, how tightly to hold tension, how much energy to release or store, and all of those decisions are based on data, on feedback from the environment, on internal chemistry, on breath and posture, and even emotion. That's the beauty of this system. It doesn't compartmentalize. The muscular response to heat and cold isn't isolated, it's integrated. It affects your balance, your cognition, your emotional state. It rewires how you relate to stress, how you recover, how you grow. So the next time you feel yourself shiver or feel your muscles soften under warmth, don't dismiss it. Don't rush past it. That's your body talking to you. That's your body listening, adjusting, adapting, participating in the ancient dialogue between form and environment, between energy and sensation, between survival and expression. And if you really pay attention, you'll start to notice the intelligence of it, the elegance, how finely tuned this system is, how nothing is wasted. Not a single contraction, not a single breath. It's all part of the orchestration, because the body is not just reacting to temperature, it's communing with it. And in that communion, in that sacred exchange between heat and cold, something timeless is happening. The body, in its quiet brilliance, is translating temperature into meaning. Cold has a way of commanding attention. It doesn't ask politely. It arrives, and when it does, the body listens, not with panic, but with precision. There's a reason you can't ignore the sensation of cold the way you might overlook a mild ache or a gentle breeze. It demands presence. It pulls you into your body, into the moment, into the truth of what's happening right now. When muscles are exposed to cold, their response is immediate and purposeful. They contract, not just at the surface, but deep within their fibers. This contraction isn't just to keep you warm. It's a signal, a recalibration. The nervous system, detecting a drop in temperature through peripheral thermoreceptors, begins to conserve. Blood flow is redirected inward toward the vital organs. The limbs become colder, slower, tighter. And in this tightening, the body enters a different state of being. Less expressive, more focused. Less expansive, more efficient. This isn't about fragility. It's about strategy. In cold conditions, the neuromuscular system becomes more deliberate. Nerve conduction slows slightly. Reflexes become more conservative. The threshold for muscular activation increases, meaning it takes more stimulus to initiate movement. And so the body adapts. Movement becomes smaller, tighter, more economical. There's no excess, no wasted effort. Everything contracts toward purpose. And that contraction isn't just physical. It's philosophical. Cold forces clarity. It strips things down to what's essential. The fluff of performance, the illusion of ease, the distractions that so often pull us away from sensation. Gone. You're left with the bare experience of body and environment. And in that stripped-down state, something remarkable begins to unfold. Muscles in the cold become instruments of precision. They don't flail or stretch casually. They calculate. Every movement under cold exposure must be intentional. The margin for error is smaller. The stakes are higher. And because of that, you move not from habit, but from awareness. That's where the depth is, not in the comfort, but in the call to attention. You may notice, for instance, that your balance improves in cold. Not because the body is more agile, but because it's more tuned in. Every step becomes a negotiation with the environment. Every signal from the nervous system is examined more carefully. The cold creates a kind of alertness, not hyperactivity, but presence. It's like turning the volume down on the noise so the signal becomes clearer. This is why cold is such a powerful teacher of stillness. Not stillness as immobility, but stillness as refined motion. In cold, you move less, but you feel more. The tension in the fascia, the slight pull in a tendon, the way the breath contracts in the lungs, all of it becomes part of your awareness. It's like the body is speaking in a more concentrated language, and for once, we're quiet enough to hear it. And that brings us to the deeper point. This isn't just a muscular or neural response. It's a form of communication. The cold isn't attacking you. It's inviting your body into a different state, a state where less is more, where slowness is strength, where contraction is not a failure, but a wisdom. Because if you look closely at what's happening, you'll see that the cold is refining your ability to respond. It's sharpening your system's ability to adapt. Repeated exposure to cold, done safely and deliberately, improves mitochondrial density in muscle tissue. It increases brown fat activation, which helps generate heat internally. It trains the cardiovascular system to become more resilient. Your body learns, with each exposure, how to move through contraction into deeper clarity. And the beauty of it is, this doesn't stop at the physical level. The psychological effects of cold are profound. It elevates norepinephrine, which enhances alertness, mood, and focus. The cold clears the fog. And it doesn't do it by adding stimulus. It does it by removing distraction. What remains is signal. What remains is you in direct relationship with sensation. The challenge, of course, is that we're conditioned to avoid cold. We associate it with discomfort, with resistance, but in doing so, we miss its message because cold isn't chaos. It's order expressed through tension. It's not here to harm, it's here to hone. When you step into cold with intention, you're stepping into a kind of physical meditation. You're asked to be still but alert, contracted but aware, and in that tension there is a gift, because every contraction is an invitation to listen more closely. Every shiver is a reminder that the body is awake, alive, engaged. The muscles don't lie, they tighten not out of fear but out of understanding. They're adapting, they're optimizing, and that optimization isn't just about surviving the cold, it's about learning from it. Over time, your body doesn't just tolerate cold, it responds to it with greater nuance. It stops bracing and starts calibrating. That's when you know the lesson is sinking in, not just into tissue, but into identity. You don't walk out of the cold the same person you were when you entered it. You walk out refined, more aligned with your own system, more connected to what it means to move not from comfort, but from consciousness. So the next time you feel your muscles tighten in the cold, don't rush to warm up or distract yourself. Stay for a moment, feel what's happening, because that tension, that contraction, that stillness, it's not weakness. It's the body remembering how to listen. There's something inherently graceful about warmth. Unlike the sharp, immediate alertness that cold brings, heat has a way of easing us into presence. It doesn't demand attention, it earns it quietly. Where cold contracts, heat opens. It invites rather than instructs, and in that invitation, the body responds not by holding back, but by letting go. When muscles are exposed to warmth, everything begins to soften, subtly at first, then deeply. Blood vessels dilate, increasing circulation. More oxygen and nutrients are delivered to the tissues, and the nervous system shifts into a parasympathetic state. The body exhales, figuratively and literally. There's a calm, a trust that sets in, and in that trust, something remarkable starts to happen. Movement becomes less about survival and more about expression. The beauty of the heat response is not just in its efficiency, it's in its elegance. Muscles under warm conditions become more pliable, more responsive, more alive. The elasticity of the muscle fibers improves, the fascia, the connective tissue that links everything together, begins to release its grip. Joints feel less restricted. Range of motion expands, and suddenly the body isn't just functioning, it's flowing. There's a reason dancers warm up before performance, why athletes loosen their bodies before they give their best. Heat doesn't just prepare the body, it frees it. It dissolves the microtensions that cold tends to amplify, and it does so not by force, but by making movement feel safe again. That's a powerful thing, because safety is the foundation of freedom. When the body feels safe, it doesn't need to brace or guard, it explores. And that exploration isn't random. It's intelligent. The nervous system reads the warmth as a signal that external threats are reduced. It becomes more tolerant of stretch, more fluid in transitions between contraction and relaxation. Muscle spindles, those sensory receptors within the muscle, adjust their threshold, allowing for longer, smoother movements without triggering protective reflexes. Essentially, the body says, go ahead, you're allowed to move here, you're allowed to reach further. In that permission, performance changes. You're not just moving with more range, you're moving with more connection. There's a sense of continuity between your intention and your execution. Movements feel integrated, not forced, and that integration is more than just biomechanical, it's emotional. Warm muscles tend to move in ways that feel more expressive, more human. There's a rhythm, a grace, a kind of internal coherence that comes from being in harmony with your own biology. Heat also enhances energy production. Enzymatic activity increases with temperature, improving the efficiency of muscular contractions. Glucose metabolism becomes more fluid. Oxygen delivery is more effective. The mitochondria, the energy generators within each muscle, cell operate with greater output. But again, this isn't just about raw performance metrics. It's about what that energy asterisk feels like in the body. It's the difference between pushing a machine and inhabiting it. In heat, we inhabit the body more fully. The distractions of stiffness and resistance are replaced with a sense of fluid responsiveness. This is when we begin to move intuitively, not from instruction, but from embodiment. And it's here, in this space of warmth and flow, that the body starts to teach us something subtle but profound. That motion, when paired with awareness, becomes meaning. But warmth is not just about motion, it's also about repair. Heat promotes recovery not by numbing, but by facilitating circulation, reducing stiffness, and encouraging the parasympathetic nervous system to dominate. This allows the body to drop into a state of regeneration. The muscles take in more nutrients. Waste products are flushed out more efficiently. Healing begins to accelerate. In that way, heat becomes a kind of internal sanctuary, a space in which the body feels held, supported, and invited to restore itself. The psychological effects of warmth are just as real. It's not an accident that we associate warmth with comfort, with safety, with openness. That same softness we feel in the muscles is mirrored in our thoughts, our emotions. The body becomes a mirror for the mind. When you are warm, you're more likely to breathe deeply, to move gently, to feel a kind of connection to the present moment that cold rarely allows. There's also a kind of humility in heat. It doesn't demand attention the way cold does. It doesn't shock you into awareness. Instead, it shows you what's possible when the barriers come down. When the grip of tension loosens, when movement no longer feels like effort, but like a natural unfolding. And in that unfolding, we rediscover something ancient, something we knew long before we understood the mechanisms behind blood flow and nerve conduction. That movement, at its best, isn't about control, it's about trust. Muscles moving not because they're told to, but because they want to, because the environment invites them to. That's the lesson of warmth, not just that muscles respond, but that they remember. They remember fluidity, rhythm, harmony. They remember what it feels like to move from a place of presence rather than performance. And when we access that memory, when we truly feel our way into motion, we don't just perform better. We feel more whole. So the next time you step into heat, whether it's the sunlight on your skin, the warmth of a sauna, or the rise in temperature after a slow, mindful warm-up, pay attention to what changes. Notice how your breath deepens. how your posture adjusts, how your thoughts slow down just enough to let sensation speak, because in those moments, the body is doing more than responding to heat. Asterisk asterisk, it's remembering how to move with freedom. Asterisk asterisk, there's something remarkably poetic about how the body adapts, not just to movement, but to change itself. We often think of adaptation as a conscious effort, a choice. But most of it happens quietly, beneath awareness, carried out by systems that have been evolving for millions of years. And temperature, both heat and cold, is one of the most powerful forces guiding that evolution. It doesn't just affect how we feel in the moment. It alters how our body performs, how it recovers, how it learns. It writes itself into the architecture of our cells, our nervous system, and our metabolism. What we call stress, cold plunges, heat exposure, even intense physical activity, is often just information, and the body doesn't run from stress when it's delivered in the right dose. It responds. It gets smarter. More efficient, more attuned. This is the very nature of adaptation. Your physiology is not fixed. It's asterisk fluid asterisk, always sensing, always adjusting. Let's take cold, for example. The first exposure might feel jarring. The body shivers, the breath shortens, muscles contract, and energy rushes inward to protect vital systems. But repeat that exposure, even just a few times, and the system begins to shift. The shivering diminishes. You breathe more steadily. Your body begins to asterisk generate asterisk heat more effectively instead of losing it. This isn't just comfort, it's transformation. What's actually happening is a neurological and metabolic recalibration. The mitochondria in your muscle cells begin to increase in number and function. These are the tiny engines responsible for producing energy. Cold exposure literally teaches them to work harder, to become more efficient at converting fuel into usable output. That translates into improved endurance, stronger muscular contractions, and more sustainable energy during exertion. But it's not just the muscles themselves. It's the entire system they belong to. Your body begins to convert more white fat into brown fat, a metabolically active tissue that produces heat by burning energy. Brown fat is essentially a heat-producing organ, and cold exposure is one of the few ways to increase it. That's a long-term adaptation. Your body is not just dealing with the cold anymore, it's asterisk, anticipating asterisk it. This principle of anticipation is at the heart of neuromuscular intelligence. Your nervous system doesn't just react to temperature, it learns from it. With heat, the process is equally dynamic. When your body is consistently exposed to warm environments, especially through practices like sauna use or hot yoga, something interesting happens. Your cardiovascular system adapts by increasing plasma volume, the liquid component of your blood. This enhances circulation, improves nutrient delivery to your muscles, and accelerates recovery. Heat also stimulates the production of what are known as heat shock proteins. These aren't just protective molecules, they're repair agents. They help refold damaged proteins inside your cells and prevent breakdown from oxidative stress. This means less inflammation, better recovery, and improved cellular resilience over time. Even your hormonal system adapts. Cold increases norepinephrine and dopamine, sharpening focus and elevating mood. Heat increases prolactin and growth hormone, supporting tissue repair and neuroplasticity. In both cases, temperature is a asterisk signal asterisk, and the body's response isn't just short-lived. It's structural. You're building a more resilient, more responsive system with every intentional exposure. Muscles, then, are only one part of the equation, but they're a revealing one. They reflect, in a very tangible way, how well the body is listening. They reveal fatigue, tension, and adaptability in real time. If a muscle tightens more in the cold than it used to, or recovers faster in the heat than expected, that's not coincidence. That's the body responding to stimulus, adjusting its strategies, refining its output. But perhaps the most important adaptation is not in the muscles or even the mitochondria. It's in *U*. Your relationship with sensation begins to change. You no longer fear the cold or chase the heat for comfort alone. You start to engage with both states as tools, ways to nudge your physiology in meaningful directions. That shift, from avoidance to engagement, is what makes the practice sustainable. You're not fighting your biology, you're collaborating with it. And collaboration requires trust. Trust that your body knows how to adapt, that discomfort is often a doorway, not a wall. It also requires consistency. The most meaningful changes happen not with a single plunge or a single sauna session, but over weeks and months of gentle, consistent exposure. This is the slow wisdom of the nervous system. It needs repetition to build familiarity. It needs patterns to form new baselines. Once that new baseline forms, everything begins to operate differently. Your threshold for physical stress increases, you're able to push further, recover faster, muscles fatigue less quickly, energy lasts longer, the system becomes more efficient not just in motion but in stillness. It doesn't waste what it doesn't need to. It learns to operate with elegance, and this elegance isn't about being perfect, it's about being responsive. A well-adapted body isn't just one that performs under pressure. It's one that adjusts to the cold, to the heat, to the unexpected, to the ever-changing landscape of life. So when you think about adaptation, don't just think about survival, think about expansion. Think about resilience written into every fiber of your being, not as a goal, but as a capacity that's already there, waiting to be called forward by sensation, by experience, by temperature. Because ultimately, the body isn't just enduring change, it's shaped by it. And the more consistently we engage with the forces that shape us, the more completely we become who we're meant to be. Injury, when it happens, always feels like an interruption, a sudden halt to the flow of movement, an unexpected silence in the rhythm of the body. But more often than not, that injury didn't begin at the moment of pain. It began earlier in subtle ways, in a breath held too long, in tension left unnoticed, in a moment when awareness slipped, and the body's wisdom was momentarily ignored. When we explore how heat and cold shape muscular response, we also have to look at how these states influence injury risk, because the relationship isn't simple. Neither heat nor cold is inherently dangerous. In fact, both can be healing, empowering, and transformative. But the risk emerges when we move through them without listening, without paying attention to the signals they awaken in the body. In cold environments, the muscles naturally contract. They hold more tightly. Their elasticity decreases, meaning they become less capable of absorbing shock. Ligaments and tendons become more rigid. Neuromuscular signals travel more slowly. This isn't failure. It's biology protecting itself. It's the body drawing in, preserving core function, but in that state, the risk of injury increases if movement is forced, sprinting on cold muscles, lifting without proper activation, pushing beyond the current range. These are the moments when things tear, strain, or snap. And yet, these injuries rarely happen because the body is weak. They happen because we move too quickly for the body's current state. The nervous system wasn't primed, the muscles weren't warmed, the fascia hadn't yet uncoiled. The cold had narrowed the window for safe movement, and we pushed through it anyway. In this way, cold doesn't cause injury. It simply lowers the threshold at which careless movement can lead to harm. It demands intention, presence, and a kind of respect we don't often extend to our own physiology, because cold asks us to listen, and in that listening, we build the habit of preparation, of taking time to warm the joints, to activate the breath, to align awareness with action. Now, on the other end of the spectrum, heat seems more forgiving, muscles feel fluid, range of motion expands, movement flows effortlessly, but that ease can be deceiving because heat masks tension. It can give the illusion of readiness when the nervous system is still fatigued. In hot conditions or after extended exposure to warmth, we may push further than our structure can support. We may stretch too deeply, lift too aggressively, or train too long, and by the time the body signals that it's had enough, the injury has already happened. It's a paradox. In cold, injury often arises from moving too fast. In heat, it arises from moving too far. One contracts, the other expands. One narrows the window of performance, the other widens it beyond its true capacity. And in both cases, the common thread is not temperature, it's asterisk awareness asterisk, because muscles are not just mechanisms of force, they're messengers. They carry stories, memories, warnings, and invitations. Tightness is not an enemy. It's a form of communication. Fatigue is not failure. It's feedback. An injury is not punishment. It's the body's way of saying, you weren't listening. So how do we prevent injury in environments shaped by temperature? Not by avoiding challenge and not by overprotecting ourselves, but by engaging with the signals that precede the moment of strain. That means learning to feel more than we force, to ask not just can I do this, but should I do this asterisk now asterisk? The truth is, injury prevention isn't just a physical protocol. It's a shift in how we inhabit our own bodies. It's a discipline of attention. In the cold, it's about building tension gradually, layering in motion, stacking breath over control. In the heat, it's about maintaining structure amidst expansion, holding awareness even as the body invites freedom. It's knowing that every environment has its cost and its gift, and we need both. And this isn't just relevant in the gym or on the field. It's how we live. In life, we all pass through seasons of cold, times of restriction, stillness, contraction, and we pass through heat, seasons of openness, intensity, creative output. Injury in life happens the same way it does in the body, when we move too fast through the cold or reach too far through the warmth. But the body has this incredible ability to teach us how to move through those seasons wisely. By training with heat and cold, by becoming familiar with those physical extremes, we sharpen the internal compass that tells us when to pause, when to press, and when to protect. And in doing so, we don't just build stronger muscles. We build a deeper trust in ourselves, because ultimately, injury prevention is not just about staying unbroken. It's about becoming asterisk, intact asterisk, fully attuned, fully engaged, and fully responsive to the environment inside and out. So the next time you feel tempted to skip a warm-up in the cold or to overreach in the heat, pause for a moment. Ask yourself, what is my body telling me right now, not yesterday, not ideally, but asterisk right now asterisk? That one question, asked with honesty and answered with attention, might be the most powerful injury prevention tool you'll ever use. Asterisk asterisk, because the safest body isn't the one that never breaks, it's the one that never stops listening. Asterisk asterisk.